Is Bitcoin heading down to 57,000 level of max pain, or is it going to turn around? What does the cheat sheet tell us, and what do the other charts tell us? Let's run the numbers and find out. I'd like to share something really important with you. It's very good in the green days. You think you're literally a master of the universe. But when things turn red, it's easily done to beat yourself up and basically to say, oh, I can't do anything right. I can't believe it. It's coming down. And especially when that happens for a long time. In this particular area, it was 63 days of negative price momentum. You can see that there. And it came down nearly 22%. This is, of course, Bitcoin. What about here? That was about 63 days. Wow, 63, pretty interesting. And just a little over 20%. What about this? This was really compressed, about 21 days, but nearly 23% down. It's very easy to just get faked out as price comes down. And how did you feel during this time? Were you on top of the world and were you saying, oh, fantastic, I'm going to get a bargain. This is fantastic. I can ride these waves as well. Or were you panicking and saying, oh my goodness, I just can't do anything right? Think back to this period of time. This was around May 2023. What about here in August 2023? How did you feel during those periods of time? Do you remember how you felt? Now, how do you feel now? If we fast forward in time to right now, how do you feel right now? Price has been coming down for literally in excess of 34 days. It's been coming down 37 days. You're probably feeling pretty miserable and saying, oh, I just can't get anything right. This is just a sell-off after sell-off after sell-off. There are, of course, green areas in here, but you'd have to be pretty quick and pretty nimble to catch them. But what about just going back to April? What were you feeling there as price came down for 48 days? Can you remember? Now, what would happen if this 34 days of price declines turned into 63 or 64 days of price declines? And why did I 9 days ago? Let's actually zoom in here. 9 days ago, I said we need to be prepared for a 10% drop, at least in Bitcoin. Now, why did I do that? That was when the SEC dropped the Ethereum lawsuit. Around that particular period of time, everybody was saying, wow, ETH is going to go absolutely nuts. And some people bet their life savings, unfortunately, on that. This is why don't follow the news, follow the charts. What happened? What did we see? ETH and Bitcoin just broke down because we know as Bitcoin goes, so too does the entire crypto market. Are you prepared for another 30 days of negative price action? Now, why might it be negative? Remember, we can't just assume it's going to go positive or negative. We just have to view price in its natural habitat. We just have to say, hey, price, where are you going? I'm going to look at your structure. But don't forget, the spot ETH ETFs are going to start trading in probably the first week of July. And at the same time, the Mt. Gox repayments are slated to start. So we could expect a little bit of sell pressure on Bitcoin, or so the institutions would have us believe. Remember, don't trust the news. The news is solely and wholly untrustworthy. The charts are the only things that you should trust. Don't trust a story, trust the charts. And we also have the French presidential election, the Trump sentencing coming up as well. One thing to always bear in mind, as Bitcoin goes, so too does the entire crypto market. If Bitcoin is coming down, you can bet your bottom dollar there's negative price momentum across all of the alts. It doesn't realistically matter how good the projects are. Bitcoin is the center of the universe. This is why you must understand what's happening with Bitcoin. If you don't understand that, you're in a lot of trouble. Bitcoin is currently trading at $60,754. If we look at this particular price action, one thing that we can see, there are a lot of opportunities in here. Look, it's all up and down, up and down. It's moving in a wave. Even though it can be going up, it can also be coming down. And when it retraces, they can be pretty juicy. And also, it's really dependent on structure. So let's turn on the structural levels. Structure gives us the ultimate understanding of where a chart would stop and likely reverse. But if it transforms it into support, it would form a basis from which it can launch upwards. But if it doesn't occur, we have to just bear in mind that lower levels are put in play. And this is what it's all about. We can see that Bitcoin just recently tried to come up to a structural resistance level, just a little bit over 61,100. It couldn't pass through there. You can see that that particular long tail rejection, I'll just zoom in. That long tail rejection right here is called a failure because it's a failure to convert resistance, structural resistance, into structural support. We have a shorthand way of talking about these specific lines. They're called CTKS lines, or CTKS resistance when it's above the current price or the price that we're looking at. For example, if we're looking here, this is CTKS support, this is CTKS resistance. Why CTKS? What's all of that about? Well, it's the world's most powerful structural level detection system. So it analyzes all of price history, and it's got 2 levels of standard certification in order to do it. These are no regular lines. These are not drawn randomly. They're very scientifically based. And in fact, on Bitcoin, they analyze more than 5,200 days worth of data. So therefore, they are statistically significant. And you can see just how significant these lines are. Look at how they constrain price. You can go back to videos in the past. These lines are set for the month. And they change around because level 1 and level 2 standard certification, when the next month pumps across, these lines are going to change because that's the way this system works. Now, what do we see here? A failure, a retest of that and a collapse down. If it can't get through and structurally flip that resistance into support, it's just going down to the lower structural levels below. It's really simple to understand, but generally what happens, and the reason I asked you, how do you feel? A lot of people feel really negative. They feel very despondent and very upset with the market. Market, how could you do this to me? What you can see right now is that we failed to convert this 61,140 level into structural support. Now we're down here around 60,655. And we're struggling with that because there's been a big sell-off. This is a negative CTKS gap because it's a negative structural gap. That means the price can move down very, very quickly, but it can also move up very quickly. Don't just take one side of the trade and say, oh, this is going to come down here. It could do 3 things. It could go up, it could go sideways, it could consolidate across support, or it could go downwards. As a global family, we do our 3-dimensional risk management through the CTKS code, and you'll often see this inside the comments. It's all about which direction is the market going. How do I feel it's going to go in the next 24 hours? And if it goes that way, how is my portfolio going to be impacted? And how synchronized in with the market do I actually feel? You can raise your synchronization through the cheat sheet, and we'll just look at that very quickly in a minute. But the key concept, the market can go down, it can go neutral, or it can go up, and you must be prepared for any eventuality. Always remember, you control the trade or investment, but the market controls the return, and you can't force the market to give you your return on investment. You just have to move with it, just like water. And well done to all the members that still do this. You're just awesome. The cheat sheet is available free from ctksmethod.org. One of the things that the cheat sheet allows us to do is to understand how the market is either just in synchronization or if it's desynchronizing. Now, When we look at the crypto market, it doesn't take much to see it's pretty red. You can see a lot of red. All of these areas, red, 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 red. What does that mean? It means there's negative price momentum across the crypto industry. But why? That's the key. Now, we need to expect volatility. Here's just some things that I've mentioned, and I will post this to Twitter/X as well. We have a strengthening DXY. The dollar-yen index is strengthening as well. Don't be fooled by the fact that it just retraced a little bit when this particular cheat sheet was done. What you're seeing here is a strong upward momentum in terms of its price history. And what about the US 10? The US 10 is in the process of turning around, as is the US 2-year. Now, what does all that mean? Well, it means that if all of these things in row 1 are gathering momentum, row 2 is going to lose momentum. Now, what does that mean? If crypto, Bitcoin especially, is acting like a digital commodity, like digital gold and silver and copper are all under pressure because the yields are strengthening and the DXY associated pairs are strengthening as well. That's not good for crypto. That's really not good at all. And eventually it's going to filter into the major indices, starting with the Russell first, then moving to the Dow, because the S&P 500, especially led by the tech sector, has been so incredibly strong. What we're actually seeing, a lot of market momentum is typically driven by US liquidity, and we've seen day after 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 day of decreasing liquidity. This effectively is not good. We don't like this. We also saw when this particular cheat sheet was done, just at that time, we saw that stable coins were making their way into the top gainers in the crypto market. And unfortunately, the best gainers weren't up that significantly. Also, the meme coins like Bonk and Floki and all of those coins have been getting hit. But the one thing that's really interesting when I talk about low liquidations, anything under $100 million is really low. Hey, Ken, I want that problem. 100 mil is low. Wow, that's awesome. But higher is anything over 200. Like this one that we had 3 days ago. It was nearly $400 million. Well, 375 million. And then in turn to 100, that's really low. And that's really low, under 100 as well. Now, one thing that I want you to be really prepared for, in the next 48 hours, we're going to get $6.6 billion worth of options expirations. Well, I've just done it over here, so that's probably a little bit easier for you to read. So, $6.6 billion in Bitcoin options to expire with a max Paine of $57,000. Let's just flip back to the Bitcoin chart. When we pop on a max Paine line of 57,000, it's not that far away. It's about 6% away. It sounds like an eternity away, doesn't it? 57,000 for Bitcoin? What a bargain. Please let me know in the comments, what do you think? Are we heading down to this area? Do you think that $6.6 billion is going to be wiped out of the options holders' hands? Or do you think the market will just happily pay them all? And that means we won't reach 57. One thing that we would really need to understand, what is the structure around this area? Let's zoom in and find out. By turning on your indicator, you will see that there's no structural support around that 57,000 max Paine line. We have structural support at 58,000 and around the 58,600 mark. Underneath there, just about 55,970. But there's a negative CTKS gap here. Now, what could that mean? If the sellers manage to push the price down to that 57, it's likely to go down and then come back up very quickly. Let's have a look at it from another perspective. If from the Ethereum, or the SEC dropping the Ethereum lawsuit, if we see about a 12% takedown in price to this 57,000 max Paine mark, it could be one of these, just a long tail rejection up and right back again. Look at how that reversed. That was quite nice. It is on the cards. Is Something else on the cards is more than 34 days overall as well. So you need to keep this just in the back of your mind. Get prepared for it. Prepared is never scared. Prepared is prepared. It's always important to remember that during these negative times where price can come down quite a lot for quite an extended period of time, sometimes a couple of months even, sometimes it's less, but the concept that underpins these are very emotional times where you're not going to feel that happy, but they pass as well, and boy oh boy do they pass. The expectation for Bitcoin and crypto in the future is absolutely, utterly smashing. It's fantastic, but you will have to go through periods like this. As you get into the bull run, and I don't believe we've even started yet, inside the bull run, you have to expect 30 and 40% retracements. This is only 22. Look at that, 20. So imagine double that. Wow, that's a lot. So get prepared, because this is what you need to do to be successful inside this market. Inside the comments, it would be fantastic if you shared your experience on how you cope with these negative times, how you keep your mind positive. Keeping your mind positive and your belief up is incredibly important. It's really easy. When prices are going up, you just look at it and say, wow, I must be a genius. But where prices are going down, we can feel very upset and depressed even. Please let me know, what strategies would you recommend that people do to just avoid those kind of negative emotions? Because we're in the market and we have to expect this kind of volatility. You don't get these fantastic, crazy returns in an exponential market without seeing crazy exponential drop-offs as well. It's just like light and day. One day it can be going up and literally the next day it can crater backwards. But that's okay. If you have a strategy on how to just deal with this turbulence, you'll be fine. And the best strategy that you can ever get is to know the structure. If you know the structure of all of these charts, the charts that you put money into, as well as the tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 charts, you are set, so long as you know how to interpret them. And if I can help you with that, please let me know in the comments as well. Thank you for being here. You're a warrior. You're here and not a worrier. The sun will come out again, and it's just really important to keep a very positive attitude. Just be realistic as well. You can't have all the green days without having the red days, unfortunately. Have a great day or night ahead, my friends, and Kate and I look forward to catching up with you again in the next video. Bye for now.